Hi guys! For this post, I wanted to share about the neurological disorder Agensis of the Corpus Callosum. When I looked for it in our book, it actually wasn't in there. It's pretty rare. I think it maybe affects like 5% of people. It's something onset at birth. They don't know the exact causes, and different levels of severity are caused by different factors, but normally like the main factor is an infection during pregnancy, which causes agenesis of the corpus callosum. So really what that is the corpus callosum in the brain is either partially or completely non-existent. So you don't have that connection between the two hemispheres. So I'm sharing this because my sister was actually born with it, Hannah. And I just wanted to share what her story, what her life looked like, and like what it looked like for her family. My dad realized it actually when Hannah was a little after 1. He was actually at the grocery store, and he had Hannah in the cart, and she was parked next to another cart who also had a kid that looked Hannah's age, but the kid was developmentally, like cognitively and physically, much more advanced than Hannah was. And my dad was like, oh, this is kind of weird, like Hannah doesn't follow my finger, or like she's not making the sounds, the pronunciation that like this other kid was. So he took her to the doctor, and they did an MRI on her head and saw that Hannah had severe ACC. It just wasn't, her corpus callosum like was not there, and other parts of her brain were also severely disformed. And I think it's something that gets overlooked, that if your kid is, diagnosed with these neurological disorders, it's really hard as a parent to accept and like adapt to it, because you have expectations of your kids, and it can be really hard. My mom was like refused to believe it for months. So anyways, a little after she turned 2, she started having seizures. Some of them were mild seizures, some of them were severe, and she was in the hospital. And as she developed, they realized that she was blind and she couldn't speak. And she was confined to a wheelchair. She couldn't walk or do like any physical activity, so she was in a wheelchair, which as she like grew older was challenging. So my parents built a house, and they had Hannah's room on the first floor, so they didn't have to worry about getting her up and down steps, and they built their room next to her room so they could like hear her at night if she had a seizure and fell out of bed. Hannah, she had a hospital bed as her bed to help with like lifting her and positioning her. And as a little kid, I was 2 years younger than Hannah. I was very jealous. But anyway, so school for Hannah, she couldn't go to regular school. She went to Overbrook School for the Blind in Philadelphia, and how school was set up for her because of the severity of ACC. She would go on a Monday and then come home on Friday. So she stayed there all week. And she'd come home during the summers and like over Christmas break. As she progressed and stuff, the doctors said like she wasn't gonna live very long, like they didn't think originally like past the age 4 or 5. So that's pretty much like what her life looked like. She really liked music, like the song Wheels on the Bus was her favorite. And to play with her, we'd sit on the ground and had this ball that had like spikes and beads so you could hear it, and we'd roll that back and forth. And at school, they were able to teach her, she had a really cool purple wheelchair, and they had a tray with these like big buttons on it, and one said, I'm thirsty and I'm hungry. And so she learned to hit those when she was thirsty or hungry, and I think there was like 2 or 3 other buttons. So she learned how to hit those to like have some form of communication, but that was pretty much the extent of it. And unfortunately, she had a seizure, a pretty severe seizure when she was 9, and she ended up dying from organ failure related to hypoxia. So she did pass away, but I just wanted to kind of share that and about the degree of ACC that Hannah experienced, because I see a lot of these videos that we're posting from YouTube and we hear on the news, and they're super inspiring and really great videos of people getting diagnosed with neurological disorders and being able to go through therapy and overcome them and live, a pretty normal life. And it's remarkable and really exciting, but I also wanted to raise awareness to the fact that not everyone is that lucky. Some people have the disability so advanced and severe that it does affect their life. They can't go to regular school. They can't get married. They can't, live a normal life. Yeah, that's all.